we explored the Gavin Newsome talk. Gavin Newsome has begun running for president of the United States. Some of you are suggesting that he was actually taking up for transgenderism. I don't think that's what he was doing, guys. And I'll play it for you one more time. This is Gavin on his little podcast. He invited Charlie Kirk. Gavin was soft pedaling his way out of the transgender issue. This is not even an 80-20 issue in America. It is a 90-10 issue. The issue of men, biological males, playing in female athletic endeavors. It is a 90-10 issue, if that. And the Democrats, I was talking to Han before he left today about this issue. The Democrats are completely losing their way, marginalizing middle America by going along with what represents maybe 3% of their base. I don't believe. So if you subdivide this out, and if you tell me that from a political perspective, let's just work the math for a second. From a political perspective, 45% of Americans are more conservative or libertarian. 45% of Americans are leftist, and 10% of Americans don't know their political butts from a hole in the ground. Of the 45% that I would say are Democrats or leftists or socialists or whatever, how many of those people believe that men, biological men, should be allowed to compete against biological women in all women's sports? And they like to make excuses for this. They like, oh, well, this is not really happening, Matt. It's not, there's probably a handful across America. Stop with this. It's not a real thing. Isn't it? We saw this sad example at the not State of the Union address the other night with a volleyball player who got her head smashed in because a biological male did it. You hear, Riley Gaines right here in our own backyard. We've had Riley on the show on numerous occasions talking about that fella, Mr. Thomas, who whipped her in swimming. No offense to Riley. She did a great job. You hear about these stories of biological males on the track and field team, biological males on the swimming team, biological males on the lacrosse team, whatever it might be. And the most recent example, a biological male entered the long jump competition in California and just destroyed the women. Now, once again, no one is suggesting that women are lesser than. Women are different than men. That's all. And women have tremendous advantage. Guess what men will never be able to do better than women? Have a baby. That's right. Our differences make us stronger as a species, obviously. And the idea that the political left, the radical left, the minute portion of the radical left insist that we subdivide and everything's equal and everybody's the same and men and women aren't different and the genders are fluid. It's just nonsense. And most people recognize it's nonsense. Sadly, the left allowed themselves to be pulled to the extreme on this issue to the point that they've lost their base. The base Democrat does not believe this. Even if they believe that live and let live, and even if they've been pulled into this nonsense that young people will kill themselves with more regularity if they're not allowed to chop parts off of themselves, which is not true, they still do not believe that men should be allowed to intervene in and ultimately destroy female sports. Because that is ultimately what will happen. And if you have enough, and I've long said, I don't have anything against someone who is gender dysphoric. If you have issues along these lines, what you are indicating to me, what you've told me, I don't make these rules. You make these rules. You've told me that a mistake was made. Individuals who are gender dysphoric, you tell me that a mistake was made at your birth. I don't tell you that. I'm not calling you a mistake. You're saying that. When you say that you should have been a man, not a woman, or a woman, not a man, you're telling me that a biological accident happened. I'm not telling you that. So when I call that out, people scream at me. Oh, my God, you're calling them a mistake, Matt. No, they're calling themselves a mistake. My suggestion is this. Whatever you want to call it and however you want to deal with it, society cannot and will not be set up for those types of things. To suggest that is to suggest that all blind people force all of us to close our eyes when they demand we do so that we experience life like them. Does that seem odd to anyone else? That we would take a dynamic by which their definition is an accident and force everyone else to live by that dynamic. It makes no sense. Does that mean that I'm hating on you? I don't hate on you. I love on you. I appreciate you. But you have to recognize that the world is not set up for you. We cannot set up a system by which blind people have the ability to drive on our roads. Similarly, we have not set up a system by which you are allowed to break down the structure of society in your own way to fit your own issues. That is not to say, do not mistake my animated presentation for attacking transgender people. I wish you well. I wish you mental comfort. I really do. But any of you demanding that the rest of society alter ourselves to fit into what you determine is normal isn't going to happen. And oh, by the way, you're doing so at the sacrifice of everyone else's basic rights. Because if I have a young girl, she ought to have the ability to perform on the volleyball team or on the swimming team or on the golf team without interference from the men, the biological men who have natural biological advantage. That doesn't mean that I'm not sensitive to your issue. You can be both. What your side is to suggest is that all of these little girls can go to hell with their aspirations and their dreams because your kid has decided that he likes to wear dresses. And that's not the way we're going to set society up. And Gavin Newsome has realized that if you play to the minuscule portion of your political base that believes in these types of things, you're playing to 5% of 45% of the American population is what you're playing to. You are playing to 5% of 45% of the American population. You're playing to 2.5%, 3% of the American people. And you're not winning elections that way. So good luck with that, Gavin. And good luck with repairing your extreme leftism that you had to present in California in order to get elected in the state of California as the governor. You had to roll to the extreme left, and now you recognize that there is no leader. There is no captain at the ship for the Democrats. And you look at that as a potential political advantage for you in 2028. And I don't blame you for that. Gavin Newsome, look at him. Good-looking fella. You know, nice coif of hair. You know, seems comfortable in his own skin, willing to fight back when the fight is worthy. I mean, this is a worthy adversary, but you have to repair those extreme viewpoints before you take on the likes of a J.D. Vance. Good luck with that, buddy. And you're not combating with me. We'll do that in 2027. Right now, you're fighting with your own. You've got to fight and claw through what you created, the structure of identity politics that you created. You see, when you build your political platform on identity politics and those identity groups start fighting amongst themselves, so when you have the soccer moms that are predisposed to vote for you as a Democrat, and you tell those soccer moms that their precious little angel who wants to play on the volleyball team or on the softball team has to take on a 6'2" dude that's pretending to be a chick, you lose the soccer mom. So when you lose the soccer mom, the structure starts to crumble. That's the problem with identity politics. eventually you run out of oppressors and the victims begin becoming oppressors.